Well, howdy, neighbor.
Hey there, Clive. Why don't you just sit a spell and I'll take a real good care of you. You want to swallow my shine?
I sure do.
All right.
Right. Yes. Hicks. Is that moonshine you're drinking then?
Yeah, of course it is. Yes. Proper Irish though. It's made of poutine. It's potato based.
Nice. The feds haven't found you're still out back.
No, not yet. Yeah. So Clive, these are your choices. This is the hicksploitation episode.
This is the hicksploitation episode. I love me some hicksploitation.
Ffilm Craic here.
There's nothing beats, gators, swamps, moonshine jars with
hot hillbilly on hillbilly action.
Yes, your hot corn-fed blonde cousin in denim cutoffs, leaning over the General Lee.
Yep.
What dreams are made of.
Yes. So we had initially thought about doing another movie, but then we didn't. We ended up doing two poor white trashes and something really truly sad, which we're going to start with.
Uncle Goddamn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
okay.
Yes. So shall I give a bit of background? So basically, Uncle Goddamn, or as it's also known throughout the years, the Redneck Torture Tape, or Dale's Funniest Videos. So basically, there was a family in North Carolina in the 80s. They might still be there. Hello, Shelby family. And the Shelbys kind of, filmed their own hijinks.
Yep.
And,
antics.
Yes, all sorts of things. They go to wrestling matches and motocross riding, riding motorbikes very dangerously up incline.
Yeah, that scene is astonishing. They have an ongoing feud with the punk band Anti-Scene. We'll get the strangest moments of the whole thing.
So, but predominantly they have an uncle whose vocabulary seems to consist of shouting "God damn!"
Yep,
pretty much. Who they enjoy torturing.
Yeah.
And at some point, I think these videos ended up on some sort of public access show.
Okay.
In North Carolina. And then they were collected on a VHS tape, I guess off air, I think. Like someone was like, we need to capture this because it's a great cultural moment. And at some point,
it was a big part of the early tape, or like that tape trading kind of, I think.
And then in 2004, the company Disinformation put them out on DVD, 40 minutes long, which is what we watched. But I believe the earlier tapes were a bit longer.
Yeah.
But this is what we've got now. And I mean.
So I mean, the obvious, I suppose. The obvious connections to make would be, and I think they're wrong though, but would be to Jackass and like Can't Kill Yourself, the CKY folks, right? Except that stuff was mostly done at their own expense, right? It was them.
Plus, like Uncle Goddamn makes that stuff look like it was directed by Orson Welles, right?
Oh yeah, well yeah. There's that the whole that element. This is obviously shot on Handycam,
Yeah, and not only the look of it, it's just the whole. I mean, sophisticated is not a word that springs to mind, right?
No. And then the other thing would be like bum fights, right, or something like that. So that level of grim exploitation, right? But this is somewhere between. This is not. This is neither that night, because it is a family.
Because bum fights made me kind of angry.
Yes. Well, I don't know if this. Yeah, this is just maybe sad.
Yes.
More than anything else. Yeah. Because it's clear that
even though it is occasionally hilarious.
Uncle has a pretty serious problem, right? We assume with alcohol.
God damn!
He's passed out on the floor and can be lit on fire, right?
Well, this seems to be their favorite thing to do with Uncle Goddamn is to spray him and set him on fire
with lighter fluid.
Yeah. Also, they enjoy spraying his head
with silver spray paint, yes, which I can't imagine
like
is good for you at all.
Cyberman.
Yep.
And the other one is wrapping like adhesive tape around his head and then ripping it off.
Yep.
I mean,
yes, and then you have a kind of like a hillbilly, like, you know, just like there's some of it just goes on, and there's somebody just laughing, like obviously the cameraman just, you know, it's like it's a Beavis and Buttheady kind of,
right.
Just
but instead
grim.
of watching MTV, they're watching their uncle being tortured.
Yes. And actually, the most disturbing feature really is the moments where you hear children laughing in the background, or the one moment where he's on fire on the floor and the camera pans up and there's like a 3-year-old girl with the mom sitting on the couch also watching this happen. You're like, oh,
isn't Uncle Goddamn funny?
Yeah.
But yes, I'm watching this again because I'd kind of forgotten. Watching this again, it is depressing because it's basically domestic violence as entertainment. But that you'd have to be lying to say it didn't occasionally make you laugh as well, right? It's got this kind of atavistic, if that's how you pronounce that word.
Yes.
Right? It takes you back to your inner hick, right? Like, so no, it is primarily kind of sad and depressed. I suppose the funniest bit, like funny in so much as you don't feel guilty for laughing at it, is, as you mentioned, the stuff involving anti-scene. So for a while, we should also mention there's an annoying the repeat editing.
There's an editing thing, like they're trying to do a America's Funniest Home Videos.
Which is just not
thing.
It could have been 30 minutes, right? So we go away from Uncle Goddamn being tortured for a while, and we go and visit Pappy, right? Who I guess is another relative. And so the members of Anti-Scene, who are
maybe related to him in some way.
Yes, I think they are. They are from North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Are they? I'm not familiar with Anti-Scene. Are they hardcore?
Yeah. They're a long running, like since 83. You know.
Any good? I don't really know.
I mean, they're kind of like I mean, at one point they backed Gigi Allen. So they definitely ran in the scum punk kind of crust punk, and they were never like a lefty band, but they're not a right-wing band either. They were kind of just a scummy, so they're very pro gun rights and stuff. There's some southern things that they that they check, but they're a good punk band. I mean, if you get off on that level of threatening, fast and aggressive.
With a lot of that stuff, and especially, I mean, there's so much of it, and when you're really into, I was so into punk and hardcore at a certain point, and you kind of burn out on it, and then and a lot of it is you can't see the wood for the trees kind of things. Like, I know there are bands which are better than others, but until it all kind of looks the same. And a name like Anti-Scene as well seems like, isn't there like another band called Anti-Some, and like the names blend together, and until you become a fan of that band, you don't distinguish.
And they're a bit more stoogey as well, I think, and also I think their lead singer used to break glass on himself and stuff as well. So there's that element that a bit more of a.
I mean, if I sat down with an Anti-Scene, which I will at some point, if I sit down with an Anti-Scene album, there's a good chance that I might think, oh, holy shit, I really like, and then forevermore I will, of course, Anti-Scene, a totally different proposition from someone else. But for now, But anyway, so they have some kind of weird rivalry going with Happy. I don't really quite understand, but they've sent him a videotape. So
done it very much in a wrestling promo style.
So from what I could read between the lines, it seemed as if Pappy had been cuckolded at some point. Right?
Yes.
Like his wife had run away. Well, actually, they also specifically say had run away with a Jew.
Jewish gentleman, yes.
And
who he now refers to as the rabbi.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So so basically they're just reminding him of being cuckolded, I suppose.
Yes.
And but what's fascinating is Pappy doesn't seem to have grasped the concept of this being a recording.
Yes, that they're not there in the room.
There.
He's
and also
enraged.
that someone's rewinding the tape and they're saying the same thing again, but he's like, I already told you.
Freshly enraged.
Yes.
Yeah.
This scene is amazing.
His way of he drops his pants and kind of like again, yeah, that whole that's what's going on.
This is gold. This more so because it's less. I mean, in a way, if you were really to dig into it, it's also profoundly depressing and sad. But somehow it's less so than Uncle Goddamn visibly being set on fire, and then in the interim they've pissed in his beer, and then he takes a sip of that and go, God damn! And actually, no, I don't think he even notices.
No,
he just drinks it. And I do wonder where Uncle Goddamn and Pappy are now. Probably dead.
Dead. Yep, I would guess.
Either drugged themselves to death or someone set them on fire.
And forgot to put them out.
Yes, the last big gag, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you first see this, or when did you first? Because this was a first time view for me. I definitely not seen Uncle Goddamn before.
Yeah. They should teach it in schools. It should be on the syllabus.
I'm surprised it's not on all the syllabus. Yeah.
I think I found this trawling through. Do you remember the company Shocking Videos?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Might actually have been out of North Carolina as well, or West Virginia, or somewhere around there. Anyway, Shocking Videos had a very good catalog, and I was friendly with the guy from Shocking Videos for a while there. And I think I had some VHS tapes, like the Japanese VHS tapes that he needed for some reason. I think I sent it to him, and then I had some credit or something, and I had some Shocking Videos. And I think that was the first time I think I ordered a copy of, before all this stuff was on YouTube, was I think I got a Shocking Videos copy of Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny, for example.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I noticed Uncle Goddamn in that. I don't think I actually got it from Shocking Videos, but reading the plot synopsis. This sounds like something especially in your younger days as well, where you're kind of slightly more attracted. You're kind of drawn to the more or death tape, that kind of side of things, which now is, I don't know, I might have come around full circle again. I think I got burnt out. And now,
but now it's time to.
Well, no, I'm kind of like, I never have seen Faces of Death 7. Maybe I should fill that gap,
Okay.
Yeah, but Uncle Goddamn, it's. I mean, I would hesitate to recommend it exactly. I mean,
yes, I would say definitely. Actually, all three of these movies could come with pretty solid trigger warnings, actually, to be perfectly honest. But that one maybe especially. If you have any issues with seeing helpless people get brutalized by their own families, maybe not the movie for you. Well, it's not even a movie, as I said. It's a collection of. But I will say, I would have watched an entire hour of those guys just riding those dirt bikes up that vertical mountain thing. That was insane.
Yeah. People doing that, though, oddly enough, it triggered a memory in me. I kind of remembered people doing that. I didn't.
Junior Kickstart?
Well, yeah, Kickstart wasn't a million miles off, right? I mean, you had kids on bikes twice the size of them, like falling
off,
and seesaws and things, and the bike landing on top of them. And then Peter Purvis coming on to read the scoreboard, right? And now we've got, he's a young man. He's from Gal Shields. He's only 12, but he's the motocross champion of, and you're like, really? Yeah. Go check out the Junior Kickstart clips on YouTube. I've done that before. I've spent a few drunken Saturdays watching old Kickstart videos. It's brilliant. I used to love Kickstart. Anyway, we are.
Yes. Let's crack on to Bayou. Also known as.
Sorry, I just realized I didn't expect Kickstart to come in, but that's kind of. Hick Light.
Yes, Mondo. Yeah, it's kind of the
Brit
like the
Hick Light.
BBC version of Mondo. Yeah.
So are you glad you watched Uncle Goddamn?
I'm glad I watched the piece of them riding the bikes up. That was exciting, but to be honest, not really the level these days. Yeah, it just seems sad to me.
Did you
Like,
watch this with anyone else? Did you watch this with
No,
someone you
no.
loved?
I made absolutely sure that my wife was nowhere around when I watched Uncle
You
Goddamn.
don't think she'd enjoy it?
I am 100% positive she would have been in tears. I think it's the kind of thing that would have absolutely made her very sad about the state of.
She's a very
humankind.
empathetic, kind woman.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
she is. She's a good person. But anyway, Poor White Trash. The original.
Right.
The originally called Bayou, right?
Yes.
And we'll talk about this when we get into the movie, but it definitely feels to me like there's big chunks of Poor White Trash that were not in Bayou.
No, that's right.
Featuring actors that don't look like they're actually the actors from the movie.
To be fair, I mean, yes, this is Ffilm Craic, so obviously we're talking about things that are not really properly available. So we watched a VHS rip of this, right? Because I don't think it is a DVD.
Which is very surprising. It's quite a well-known movie.
Yeah. Certainly, I don't know if it still has the cachet now, but once upon a time it had the cult classic kind of. So originally from 1957, and I think an Allied Artists film,
right,
did no business at all. So producer M.A. Rips took it back, re-released it himself, American National in 1961 with the new title Poor White Trash, which I think is yes, that's the key.
And much better come on.
Who's going to go watch Bayou?
Yeah.
But
who's not going to want to go see Poor White Trash?
Exactly.
Particularly when it's showing at the drive-in. You know?
I'm going to go take Daisy May to see Poor White Trash. But also, yes, to your point, they cut in. So before we get to the cut-ins, then,
should we just talk what the movie's about?
The overall, actually quite boring story of Poor White Trash?
Although, you know what's funny, I upon rewatching it, I quite like this movie for a couple of different reasons. The main one, obviously, being actor, genius, musician, dancer.
Nicolas Cage's dad.
Nicolas Cage's dad, the great Timothy Carey, who I will watch anything that Timothy Carey is in happily. And this is one of the movies where you get more of him than you normally do. He tended to be, for good reason, marginalized. 2 minutes of Timothy Carey is plenty. Like that's all we're letting him get in this. So yeah, you get a lot of Tim.
We don't want him to totally ruin this episode of The Big Valley or Bonanza.
Exactly. Yes. So
that's or whatever the fuck.
Exactly. Yes. I recently did a deep dive just watching every 2 minutes of him from every 70s and 60s.
We never know. We might come back, right? To
I would love to.
We might do a bit of a Timothy Carey greatest hits package.
Yes. But yeah. So, but what this reminded me of was I read a bunch of Charles Williams' earlier books. Like you and I read The Hotspot some years ago, and that's an amazing book. But he wrote a bunch of earlier kind of like very poor white trashy sort of things, like Swamp Girl and like these kind of things. And it did remind me of, it had that vibe of like the kind of hyper intense sexual, like,
oh yeah, don't get me
like,
wrong, I love the king of them. I think is maybe what's his name, Gil Brewer, right? Or there's a few other authors as well that do this stuff even better than Charles Williams.
Right.
Superheated swamp melodrama.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I can read that stuff all day long. But I just don't think, especially if you consider, if you remove the bits that were added,
right,
this is quite a tame
yes
of that.
But it does get much darker with the inserts, I think.
With Peter boring as the grave grapes as our lead.
Yeah, but and what's interesting is because of the cut-ins in this version, he disappears for what seems like 25 minutes. You're like, oh yeah, he's our main character, right? It's not Timothy Carey.
He's an odd one, isn't he, Peter Graves? I mean, I like Peter Graves because I grew up watching Mission Impossible. but yes,
yes. And then later on, he hosted A&E's biography, which is how I most remember him.
Right. And of course, he's the star of Killers from Space as well. The
yes,
ball, eyeball. But yeah, objectively,
he's pretty boring.
Quite boring, isn't he?
Very flat. He's like,
film.
and he's got a little bit of Ronald Reagan about him too, like the younger boring actor Ronald Reagan.
The Gipper,
yes, he's a little bit of Gipper. Yeah, I mean, actually, I have a note here because there's a point at which like he suddenly starts, like they cut to him and he's in the middle of a conversation and it says, "And that's how I designed the municipal building in Albany." And I'm like, and he's with this hot, like swamp Cajun girl, and you're like, why are you telling her about?
Yeah, Lita Milan. And more to the point, Lita Milan, Timothy Carey's over there. What the fuck are you doing with this?
With Peter Graves.
Boring. Yes. Yeah, so he's seeing.
So I'll say,
I love what the plot was. I will do it.
Yeah, no, but I would say this movie opens with the song, which I don't know if it's from the original Bayou or if it was done.
No, it's added. It was added.
Yeah, it's brilliant. That like.
Well, it's basically shortening bread, isn't it? It's
yes,
a version of shortening bread.
Yeah. But the lyrics are fantastic.
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's bookended with this guy
song.
Gerard Fried, apparently.
Yes.
Oh no, sorry. Gerard Fried gets the music credit. I don't think that is Gerard Fried.
Okay.
Gerard Fried's the original score. There's some guy with a banjo. Comes on to introduce it and bookends it. And so basically Peter Graves is an architect who's in the Cajun Bayou where they live like animals, we are told.
Yep. Oh yes, yes.
Shot in Barataria Bay in Louisiana. And
lots of great Spanish moss draping down from the I loves me that like EC Comics looking swamp.
Right. And and he falls for the local hottie Lita Milan, who Timothy Carey is first seen just
leering at. I mean, if you haven't ever seen Timothy Carey, it's very hard to actually do Timothy Carey because he has this way of looking up here and delivering all his lines.
He also doesn't have I don't believe he's actually a human. Like, I think he's an animated character or something. Like, he looks drawn. He doesn't look real. I can't imagine what he looks like in real life.
Yes, yeah. He's amazing.
The closest you get is Nicolas Cage.
Yes,
but it's not.
Also, with that, if you know who Michael Richards is, the guy who played Kramer on Seinfeld, there's a little bit of that too about because the gangliness of him, which is the one thing that
right. Yes, I know the guy you mean. Yeah, a little bit.
Also got the kind of the hair and
So, but basically, so Timothy Carey is not having any of it.
He owns a local store where it seems like he's owed money by her dad. Yeah, and so immediately uses this to try to like leverage dad into
and that's basically it. And then basically Peter Graves has to man up and fight Timothy.
Yeah, the moral of the story seems to be he doesn't want to fight for this contract because it's all low down, dirty pushing and shoving and
right. Dixie politics, right?
Yes. And then later on he doesn't want to have to get in a fight with this guy because that's just more of the same. And he's got to man up and his mission impossible is to grow a pair, I guess. But
there's also some other stuff so how about in the original I think this is so there's a whole thing which is very dodgy. There's a whole kind of comic relief thing about a dodgy old geezer.
Oh yeah, the
teenage wife is arriving in town. And
yes.
Is it just me or that scene when they all crowd around the house and they're like, kiss her, really reminded me of that scene in Woman in the Dunes when they're like,
yes. But this is a real thing, and this is actually so. I was talking about this with her because she's mentioned this a few times when we've been talking. She's mentioned the chevalerie, which is you can Google it right now, and it's from a few different places. I think it's Chevarie maybe. Mm-hmm. But it's a common practice, and it could often go one of a few different ways. But it was basically the whole community in small communities, and in French communities. So, I mean, one of the things I like about the movie actually is it takes this weird moment to pause and be like, explain to you who the Cajun people are. Well, you know, they were originally Acadians from Nova Scotia, Canada, but they were expelled by the British and forced to do like a long march. Now they're Cajuns and they're filthy animals now. Evidently they had some kind of culture before, but now they're just swamp scum.
Yeah, I was wondering, because I don't have enough knowledge and I don't have the ear for it, but I was wondering, are these Cajun accents good?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. And Timothy Carey
is out all over the place as per usual.
To, you know, yeah, Timothy Carey is just doing Timothy Carey, right? Like, if you only saw Timothy Carey in this film, you'd think, oh, I see what he's doing. He's trying to do some kind of weird Cajun accent. But then you realize, oh no, Timothy Carey talks like that in everything he's ever done. I don't think I've ever heard Timothy Carey speak normally, right? Between
the teeth, yeah.
I actually wonder what Timothy Carey, like, if you actually spoke to Timothy Carey, like when he's not working at home, relaxing at home, I wonder if he's like, oh, hello, good day. Min, would you like a cup of tea? I wonder what his normal speaking voice is like. We should ask Romeo, right? His son.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, there is interview footage. There is interview footage with him where he's not on to that degree. Yes. So,
So anyway, yeah. So as we said, so yeah, it's kind of a bit of a swamp melodrama. We've also got some Douglas Fowley's, and you got a couple of Roger Corman faces. Jonathan Hayes and Ed Nelson are in there as well. And as it was, it's, you know, yeah, it's okay. I suppose that this isn't added. We should mention it in this section. Timothy Carey's Zydeco dance.
Yes. Well, but maybe to get back to the chivalry for a moment. So basically, it is this real thing, and I imagine Acadians definitely would have practiced it, where you basically go to somebody's house after they've been married, and particularly if it's a May December thing, it could go one of two ways. The old guy could get killed, like beaten to death. Like, it was kind of like, usually it was more of a rowdy fair and, like, you know, invite everyone in and feed them and you know, get them drunk to kind of take the edge off. But depending on the bride, you know, but depending on the situation, apparently it could also lead to murder. And so yeah, when they all show up and they're banging their pots and pans and making noise outside the house and bring them out, it's a real thing that would have really happened. But yes, Timothy Carey, even though he just approaches when he comes up, like, she starts dancing, right? Like, it begins with her.
This is actually part of this general celebration as well, isn't it? There's they're banging the pots and pans and kissing and all that, and then she does a dance on the porch.
On the porch,
and then Timothy Carey's like, get her.
He kind of like he comes up, kind of like this.
I'll be interested to see if you could do this justice, Nick.
I'm gonna do any more than that. But yes, the actual dance is,
it's just but what's really interesting watching it this time, I was watching it and I was thinking, what the fuck music is he's not listening to the music they're playing.
No,
he's
not
listening
at all.
to the music in his head.
Oh yeah. And he seems to be singing maybe as well, or something, or grimacing,
great. This is one of the great dances.
Madness.
Yeah,
it's madness. And it also, there's a storm being whipped up at the same time, which just adds to the whole, like, terrifying nature. Like, it's his pure sexuality, like, just
if Timothy Carey
nature
wasn't in this film, I think it would be boring, right?
No, I agree. I agree.
So anyway, so there was new footage added, and you can kind of tell where it is as well, because it always goes on a bit too long, and the story just stops, right?
And there might be some boob in it too, where you're like, hang on, am I seeing some faraway boob?
So the first main one, which really throws the plot off as well. So obviously Timothy Carey is after the Leadham Lang character, and then there's an extended, quite outrageous for the time, I guess, sequence, a chase through the swamp, where the clothes come off one by one as well. So she's basically running naked through the mud.
It's almost like something out of like a giallo from like 20 years later or something like that, like a really sleazy one, like a Sergio Martino film or something.
And Timothy Carey's character rapes her, right?
That's very heavily implied by the.
Then,
I mean, they do fade to black, but it
cut
is
to the next scene, and
it makes no sense.
She doesn't seem like she's been raped.
No, there is also there's an insert
more...
scene. There's an insert scene in a church, but that also seems like I wasn't clear to me that was actually her, because we don't really see her face very well.
Well, you were saying the obvious double thing, but I was thinking that chase, I mean, it's difficult to tell, but certainly this benefits from being in murky VHS. I thought the lookalikes were pretty...
Yeah, no, they're not bad. Yeah, but I could
felt easily imagine being fooled and thinking there's a few shots where the face is in frame and that could be Timothy Carey.
Right.
And
well,
then,
he would have been offered. I just felt like maybe I don't know what else she did, but she seems like
I don't know. I'm not sure if they just got them
slightly classier.
If they are doubles. Yeah, and so then the other big one is there's a love scene between Boring Graves and her.
Yes, near the end, that goes on and on and
hurricane footage.
Yes,
and so they're very easy. They're very easy to spot, right?
Yeah.
They jump out, but they do. That's what made this film a hit, was the new footage, new title, and I think it played drive-ins for fucking years, right?
Oh yeah. I was really excited by a sign for 25-cent shrimp at one point. I was like, damn, that's a good price for shrimp.
I noticed as well. I was looking this up. It's quite interesting in terms of retitling and who you market these things to as well. So apparently a particularly strong double bill was, if you've ever seen that Roger Corman movie that was originally called The Intruder, which stars William Shatner.
Shatner as the KKK.
So he's kind of like the anti-civil rights guy stirring up racial trouble down south. And no one's interested in that. That's boring. But then they re-released it as "I Hate Your Guts."
Yes,
and they put that on a marquee with "Poor White Trash."
Poor White Trash, yes.
And that did gangbusters, right? But I can't remember. It's been a while since but I don't think they re-edited or changed The Intruder. I think they just changed the title on that one.
Right.
I'm not sure if they added new salacious footage. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen that.
It was a Roger Corman movie, so they probably put a helicopter exploding in at some point.
When they re-released it in the 70s, yeah.
Yes. But there's a nice pirogue race. There's some good canoeing at one point.
You're really stretching now.
Somehow Timothy Carey like still hamming it up while
in a boat. Yeah.
In a boat. Never not fully on. And I
wonder how he sleeps. Like, he must have to drink himself to sleep or something. Like, you can't relax in that state.
Yes.
How does
one
also
like this? He has this line. He comes back to it more than once, but like, somebody is asking him about like how is this Yankee guy getting away with it, and he's like, I'll tell you how. Sugar talk. Yeah. Sugar talk.
Oh, summer long. There's a definite line between this and Nicolas Cage in Deadfall, right?
Yes.
I would be surprised if Nicolas Cage wasn't a massive Timothy Carey fan.
Yes, because he's weird enough and is knowledgeable enough about weird stuff that you would think, or at least somebody very early on in his career would have been like, hey, you know who you kind of remind me of? Probably watch some of this. Yes. Lots of great.
He's not a Coppola. He's a Carey. Through and through.
Yes.
It's in the same way as C. Thomas Howell is obviously Thomas Millian's son.
There, you got him in today. That's perfect. There we go. You have to bring him up.
Right. So Poor White Trash was enough of a smash hit that it kind of launched the hicksploitation boom, really, and directly led to a sort of retitled sequel, which I guess we'll talk about after we jump off and come back again.
Yes, I think so. I would say that. So did you think that him at the end of the movie? Spoiler alert here. But there is a climactic fist fight
Yes.
And there's an axe involved.
That's an insert.
Did it seem to you that like when he rolled onto the axe and rolled off again, that was not in the original movie?
That's another, that is an insert. That's a definite insert. Okay. Yeah, sorry, that's the other big one I forgot to mention, because that kind of changes the story as well, right?
Yeah,
he's now a murderer. He hasn't just grown a pair, he's a murderer. Yeah.
Yes. So that struck me. And then we get straight back to the like poor white trash, don't have no pants, whatever song at the end, and then exit.
Which definitely isn't shortening bread.
No. Anyway,
I don't know. Boring, pretty good. It was boring, but then he killed Carrie. Oh, yeah, whatever it was.
Anyway,
now he's a real man.
Still really like this movie. And it's got a great backing cast of like sketchy old faces, you know. Filthy old hillbilly faces. It's lots of fun.
Nick said that, not me. Right.
Odie, where's my shine?
This with the continuity. God damn, Jacob, this is gonna fuck with the continuity.
Whew. That's good shine, boy. All right. we are back for Poor White Trash part 2.
This life is too long. Gonna get my knife for shortening bread. Right.
Yes, yeah. Also a great theme song to this. So the original title of this was Scum of the Earth, right?
Yeah. Not to be confused.
Title too, let's face it.
Not to be confused with there's a Herschel Gordon Lewis film called Scum of the Earth, right?
Scum of the Earth, yeah.
Which is also good fun. Yes, Scum of the Earth, but I guess retitled Poor White Trash Part 2 and this is 1974, and that's fascinating. Over a decade since Poor White
was
released, so still, it was probably still playing driving. You could probably go and see Poor White Trash Part 1 and 2.
Yes, you could. Yeah, apparently they did show as a double bill for some time. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good double bill. That would.
You would have been disappointed if you were a big Timothy Carey fan, though. Maybe.
But I think both of these are good enough. They would distract you from fingering your cousin for 5 minutes at least. So this is an S.F. Brownrigg movie.
Yes, yeah. So which is funny. I don't know that I've ever seen any of the other. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, is it like Don't Go Into Something? Is that's one of
right? Don't do that. No.
Okay. Yeah. One of those don't movies.
Yeah, you want to rethink that. That was the less popular sequel.
Yes. You might want to give that a second thought.
Yeah. Or the other one, which was a hit surprisingly, you might want to give it 5 minutes. AKA Poor White Trash 3 Outhouse Wars.
Okay.
Short words. So S.F. Brownrigg, a Texas-based filmmaker who, he made a handful of films, and I think the way I understand this was he made about 4 films: Don't Look in the Basement, Don't Open the Door, this, and Keep My Grave Open. I think he did them all in like a spurt of creativity between 1972 and 1974. And then they were like staggered release,
right?
Up until, I don't know, like maybe even 1980 or something like that. I think some places got Keep My Grave Open. And they're all interesting. They're all, they all have this very stripped down, single location kind of brooding, good acting as well. Like
they do feel like a stage production in a way, but like in that way that
they were. I think if I remember his regulars, I think they were part of like a Texas theater group.
Yeah, they just seem so good with each other. Like they just I thought the acting was actually like, I was not expecting the acting to be as strong as it was.
Well, I think that's the thing. Stephen Thrower writes about this in Nightmare USA a little bit as well. I think because Don't Look in the Basement was one of the films that ended up on the Video Nasties list in the UK as well.
Right.
So like a lot of the stuff on the Nasties.
Did it also end up a Ramones song?
No, that's Don't Wanna Go. down to the base. Something
Okay,
down
all right.
there.
Okay. Not
And
Texas
the
Chainsaw
great
Massacre.
flaming couplet, I don't want to go, hey, Romeo. I love that.
Right.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay.
Need to listen to that as
Yeah,
soon as I finish here. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's interesting. Like a lot of the stuff on that video analysis, I think when you first approach it, you're like, oh, forbidden, banned, and then your first reaction is, oh, all these films are shit, pretty much.
Right.
And they're not even that violent or gory. But then when you have that in mind and you come around again, it's much more interesting because you don't have that preconception. So you take the films on a one-by-one basis. And of course, a lot of them are still shit, but some of them are interesting. And I think Don't Look in the Basement is a good example because if you're coming at Don't Look in the Basement expecting gore and shocks and then it's very low key, and it's kind of a rerun of the the whole Edgar Allan Poe Dr. Tar asylums take over the inmates took over the asylum.
Okay, right.
Spoiler story, but if you accept it as what it is, then it's actually a very interesting one, and like this, benefits from good. It's the acting and it's the interactions, and
the dialogue too.
Yeah, and punctuated by moments of kind of quite grisly violence. Yeah, actually, strangled with barbed wire. That's
in this one. Yeah. It was interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
So I have
Although the only question I would have is the ending. I was like, yes. Okay.
Yes. I think we don't actually have to spoil the ending. I don't think we have to say what happens. But no, I'm in agreement with you. It's a little bit. But I've enjoyed myself so much up until that point.
Yes, and it's quite the end that there's the reveal.
Oh yeah, the extra, the really last end is grim enough. That is it's so it worked because I'd never seen this before, and it was the one SF Brownrigg thing that I'd never got around to. I was very pleased to it stands up. I think his body is pretty interesting. So the story here is you have a woman played by Norman Moore, who I guess it's her childhood area,
like a vacation home or something like that. It sounded like, or like a cabin, like a place that her dad
didn't have much knowledge of her neighbors.
No, I guess not. Protected.
So she's there with her new husband. Interestingly, so apparently this guy, Joel Kolodner, who isn't in it much, but the reason
he's I'll tell you how he's in it for 2 minutes and 57 seconds.
Oh, okay.
I was so stunned by how quickly he got an axe in the chest that I wrote down the time code because I was like, holy crap. Like the husband died with less than 3 minutes of screen time.
But the reason I wrote his name down is because I had a quick glance at his filmography, and what jumped out at me was in 1977, he starred in a TV movie version of Bartleby.
Okay.
As Bartleby, the scrivener of the Herman Melville.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't know of that version. I know of there's this British one, the 70s one. I think there's a French one as well, and there's the one with Crispin Glover, which is perfect casting. I'd rather not. One of my favorite Crispin Glover performances is Bartleby. But so he did a Bartleby. Anyway, he doesn't hear because he ends up with an axe in the chest, as you mentioned.
Yep.
So then
I've written down here, nice proto-punky soundtrack. I said, obviously, I have to go back now and listen to it, but obviously something about the music made me happy at the beginning of the movie.
But I don't think you're referring to the theme tune, Death is a Family Affair, whatever.
No, that's an amazing piece of it, but I think that doesn't come up. Yeah, that comes up after this opening scene.
Yeah, it's very ironic, because use of it, because it's when she's running through the woods, kind of. So you have this pre-credit sequence, and then he gets the axe in the chest, and then she's running away, right? And then you get this very weird juxtaposition of this ballad on the sound.
Yeah, it's quite a nice song though. I liked it. I actually had wanted, and I should have done this, I had wanted to learn both of them for today's show, but I just didn't have the time because they're good songs. But yeah, I just made a note here from right at the beginning of the movie. Her halter top and white pants ensemble is most fetching.
Yeah, no arguments from me there. I like a halter top.
Yeah, like Death is a Family Affair, like Lovin' and Livin', crooning hillbilly soundtrack over stalking scene.
And then yeah, she immediately bumps into Pick, right?
Yes, Odie,
as played by Gene Ross, who's in all sorts of things, but also
he seems like a really good actor.
Yes, but also was a regular voice on the 1981 to 1982 animated Spider-Man TV show.
That's very disturbing. Yeah, and wonderful hair, like that comb over he has for this movie, which is at certain point kind of flopping around.
He's very if Brendan Gleeson was a hick.
Yes, totally. Yeah, and he shows up. He's just oozing sleaze the second he shows up.
Yes, well, one of his first lines of dialogues, "I ain't killed nobody lately."
Yes, yeah, and like, what kind of help you talking about? Like, just okay, dial it back like right away, just like just sweaty and just
he's great.
Please dial to 11 is a note I have written down here.
So
lots of lip licking.
Yeah, so he kind of persuades, well, he doesn't really have much of a choice to go back to his cabin in the woods.
His hovel, yep.
Yeah, with which he lives with his pregnant wife, Anne Stafford.
Yes, she's really good too. Really the only sympathetic character other than, I guess, our lead, right, in the movie.
Daughter played by Camilla Carr. Yeah.
Ray.
She's
and
good.
then the brother Bo, who's a real inbred sumbitch. Who shows up.
Charlie Dell. Who's a whole bunch of things actually. He's really good as that. Although I don't know if this was a mistake or not. At first they referred to him as Bubba, and then he's never called Bubba ever again. He's become Bo. Now I don't know. Are Bubba and Bo is it a John Jack thing?
Maybe. Not sure.
Yeah, I don't think either of us are hick enough. We don't have hick credentials. I mean, we do a bit.
No.
But
not,
not this type of hick.
No. Yeah, he's great. Like, he's real gormless. Like, he's like proper, like no chin, like a lot of this.
Yeah. That's disturbingly accurate.
Yeah, he's awesome. And at the beginning, you feel like he's going to be a real creep, but he turns out also actually, as the movie goes on, to become increasingly a sympathetic kind of a character.
Right. Yeah, his sister is a much nastier piece of work.
Yeah, she's a real piece of work.
Threatening to put a hex on him, and also seems to have been responsible for the mother's death.
Yeah.
But for no other reason more than
she hooks herself for $1.
Yeah. And for no other reason than like, she just seems like she doesn't want to do. I don't want to set the table, or I don't want to, and she'll kill you rather than
lazy.
Yeah, she just wants to read her magazine, and I don't know what she's reading, but the Bo's like trying to pour the pages. I'm guessing it's some like a swimsuit or fashion magazine or something, and she's like, "Oh, touch them!" You're getting grease all over the. Yeah, it's great. It's interesting. It's interesting, the kind of hierarchy of offensive stereotypes, right? There's still so much racial and class divide in the US to sort out with. I feel as if we got close to it, and that's what I suppose that's what Trump presidency told, right? That you are getting this left behind Rust Belt white rage. But I still feel even now, this film, as massively caricatured it is, wouldn't offend. I don't think anyone would take offense at it. But I'm just wondering if, I don't know, 50 years down the line, maybe this is like an amazingly offensive film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Could be. Yeah, it's hard to say because the class stuff is
because there is a hierarchy of this stuff, right? And we're not there yet.
Yes,
like,
no.
Like in 100 years, me mimicking your Irish accent, which is now perfectly fine, and we all know will be totally verboten.
I don't think so, and I think the reason why is for the same reason that I told you when I lived in Japan and worked for a British company, I had no trouble with people from Scotland, from Wales, from Cornwall, from Yorkshire making fun of me or the Irish accent or the Irish in general. But when somebody with an Oxbridge, then it was like my hackles would go right.
Did it feel like punching down then?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and all, yes, exactly. Whereas I feel like there's an equivalency in a way.
Yes.
Between the Celts and generally the parts that aren't London, in a way. And even then, I would take it from a geezer. I would take it from a geezer. It's that it is that class thing. It's that these are the people who colonized the country. This is the same mindset. They haven't, Yet
you might be less forgiven for doing an Indian or a Jamaican accent.
I mean,
so
me?
It's
yes, for sure.
So it's
for sure.
It's
agreed.
complicated, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah. No, there are levels for sure.
Yeah. Can we all just get along?
Yes, yes, indeed. Thanks, Rodney.
So anyway,
I love how he tries to convince her not to leave and try to find a phone as well, because those guys down there are even more drunk and horny than me.
Right. And they ain't got no women folk. They ain't got no women folk.
Yeah.
Plus, as well, of course, there's a killer out in the woods.
Oh yes. Yes. And she's just seen her husband murdered, and then they immediately try to pull out a giant skinned possum.
Yes.
That's pretty gross as well.
No, it's good. It's like you said, it's really well mounted. It's a really slow burn. It's fascinating. It's absorbing. It's well acted. And then the ending is a little. I mean, it's not. I suppose if you were to look at it, I suppose it's not that incredibly far-fetched. I suppose it's possible that.
Yeah,
sure.
Sure.
It just doesn't fit the rest of the film.
It almost feels like it comes out of a different grindhouse movie. Like this is one kind of grindhouse movie, and then we've suddenly imported a different piece of another grindhouse movie into it.
But then again, I think a lot of SF Brownrigg stuff plays like that. Like it's 95% a mood piece, and then suddenly there's a exploitation-y bit. You know.
It did remind me a little bit too of funnily enough, of like the better Andy Milligan stuff, like that same rubbiness, and with good solid actors, in the way that his better stuff has very naturalistic acting
and very hateful kind of dialogue. And
because I mean that stuff was just fascinating, like the stuff between the brother and sister, and then the awful things Odie says to his wife, like the point where she tries to seduce him in order to make him not force himself on the girl, and he's like, I don't want your withered balloon body, whatever it is, just like
and Specton's, if you try and contact the sheriff or anything, I'm gonna kick you in the stomach.
Yeah, he's an astonishing piece of shit. I mean, it's also interesting too that, like, I mean, in that way the movie is almost like what you were saying before, like it has this whole these stereotypes, but also it has this feminist aspect as well, of like, this is the patriarchy at its absolute scummiest. Like this guy who just rules his family like with an iron drunken fist. Like he spends the whole movie bombed, like just drunk and hostile.
And there's suggestions, well, more than suggestions, but there's accusations of incest. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Nice juice harp.
There's nothing else to do in the woods, right? So.
I guess no. Yeah. But yeah, nice juice harp on. I'm always happy to hear that. The pointy sound.
Are you allowed to call it that anymore?
Juice, I think Juice. I don't think it was the other one, is it?
It's Juice harp.
Jews?
Yeah, it's Juice harp.
Are you sure? Yeah.
Called the Juice harp. Yeah.
But let me just.
Did you always think it was called the Juice harp all these years? That's interesting.
I think I've maybe seen it spelled both ways, but I think you're right. So yeah, so maybe you're not.
That's interesting. That
the
reminds me
mouth
of that's fascinating how if you've only heard something said, then you don't necessarily. Mark Kermode, the film critic, tells the story quite often of how he once asked someone at the magazine he was working for, how do you spell Crof? How do you spell Crof? And the other person, what are you talking about? And he goes, you know, as in the saying, as the Crof lies.
Nice.
He kind of got what it meant. But
so you know what, I think that it's, so I think I remember when I was first reading about like the Morricone soundtracks and I saw it spelled as in like Jewish person, JEW''S harp. But I think recently folk musicians have been calling it the juice harp as a way of getting around the potential issues. So it's
ridiculous because there is another proper word for it as well, isn't it? There is actually.
Well, there's a bunch. As I just looked it up now, there's a ton. It's the jaw harp, the vargan, the mouth harp, the G jaw, the comus, the Ozark harp.
It's like a bit of a desperate.
Yes, yeah. Anyway,
interesting. So
nice pointy sound though.
So anyway, the Semite harp, as I like to refer to it.
Yes.
No, everything's I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a potent slice of hicksploitation a great deal,
and really claustrophobic because like everyone in the movie delivers all of their dialogue.
Yeah, there's some great. We should do the rest of the.
We should do the podcast. Yeah.
There's no need for you to go to any other YouTube video. Stay here with us.
Okay.
That was proper horrible. That was.
But that does kind of, if I had crappier wallpaper behind me, that would sum up a bit of what Poor White Trash 2
one thing I did want to bring up, and this is I can't speak to this, and I did try and research it, but it's something that's quite difficult to kind of correct, and I'm not sure. So I was looking back my review of Don't Look in the Basement.
Okay.
And in that review, I wrote that it seems that SF Brownrigg wrote his own films under pseudonyms, right?
Okay.
Now, I don't know where I got that from, but I very much doubt if I would have put that in print, if I'd have just made it up. Like, right. I must have read that somewhere. Well, you never know. I must have come across something, and it kind of makes sense because they are kind of, well, you haven't seen the others, but I think you would probably agree with me. They have an auteur kind of, they all feel like from the same pump. Right. And so the screenplay for this is credited to someone called Mary Davis, which there could be a Mary Davis, but it's a very generic kind of name someone might hide. Yeah,
nobody's called Davis.
No, especially without an E. That's ridiculous. Yeah. Not even a full name. So, but what's interesting is, according to the IMDb, the way they've done it is they've found there's another film that was shot in Texas in 1970, a witch movie called Mark of the Witch. And they have the Mary Davis IMDb page. She wrote both Poor White Trash Part 2 and Mark of the Witch. Now, what interests me is, if I'm correct, and SF Brownrigg did write, and I'm wondering if SF Brownrigg wrote Mark of the Witch.
Right. Okay.
Or if someone else called Mary Davis, or someone else pretending to be Mary Davis, or so I'm not sure about any of that. But I kind of wanted to bring it up. And I don't think I've ever seen Mark of the Witch. So I'm keen to watch Mark of the Witch now to see, now with this fresh in my mind, and I might watch all the other SF Brownrigg films as well, and then see if
shoot an email to
sounds like this dialogue.
Yes, you could also shoot an email to Stephen Thrower.
I haven't had a chance, because he's got a chapter on SF Brownrigg in his Nightmare USA book, and Mark of the Witch might be reviewed then as well. So I'm going to have to dive in and see. He might have already all this up. I don't know. Okay. But if not, yes, I could ask him. I am friends with him on Facebook. So, but yeah, I'm keen to watch Mark of the Witch anyway, and just see if it sounds like Brownrigg dialogue or not. Or,
I'll say one of the most surprising moments of the movie to me, just because it was, I mean, you're right, there's a nastiness to some of the gore in the movie that's for 7-4 surprising, but like when our lead piece of crap gets shot in the face.
Right.
I was like, whoa. Like,
Yeah.
just, it was like impressively gory for the time,
Yeah.
for the kind of movie it was.
It kind of,
So-
you can imagine, again, on a date with your cousin in the drive-in, double bill, poor white trash. I think
Poor White Trash too.
it would do the business, right?
Yeah, no. As I said, it was a better movie than I think I thought it was going to be. I mean, I still, plenty of trigger warnings. This movie's grim.
I think it's I think it's a better film than the original Poor White Trash.
Yes, I think you're right. Another thing that actually, the scene where like the actor who plays Sarah, whatever they say her name, like the scene where she wanders around in the woods and then comes upon the person who.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Bingo card time. It's Eddie.
Okay.
Hello, Eddie. Good morning, Eddie. How are you? Okay. Yes, I already replied. I can give you first keep. Send to the house. If it's sent to the house, it's fine. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Eddie. Bye.
Oh, you're back. Okay.
Yes. Oh, you've got yourself a copy.
I just thought I'd show the listeners, yes, right. The book that you're referring to.
While I was
I do something with that dead air time there.
Right.
Well, attending to your other job. But yeah.
Bingo cards full this week.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. So what was I going to say there? Oh yeah, no. So the scene where she comes upon the killer and then decides this is a great chance to seduce him by rubbing herself erotically on a tree branch. That like she does this whole kind of like thing.
Wow,
it's just
stop it, Nick. I'm pitching a tent.
Yes, yeah. No, it's just another great moment in a great sleazy movie. So yeah, I would recommend it to people who like their movies grotty. If you want to feel sweaty and sad and kind of grossed out by your horror films, then but even it's a horror, like it is a horror film, I guess, but it feels more like a kitchen sink drama horror film, like a social realist horror film. It's actually not that far off, maybe Uncle Goddamn. I can see it, maybe I'm seeing the connective tissue now in a way, like from Uncle Goddamn to this, right?
Right. Yeah, like we said, nothing to do in the woods. It's either this or domestic violence and torturing your loved one.
Yes, setting your uncle on fire.
Yeah.
For kicks. Yeah. Well.
Right.
Yeehaw!